Hello, hopefully we can hear that. One of my colleagues on Slack might be able to confirm that they can hear that. And I think we've got a few people watching. It might be good to see me as well, so I'll try and make that happen. There we go, that's me. Excellent. Right, apologies for the confusion there. I'm using some new software to do this with. It's called Ecamm Live if you've never used it. And it wouldn't appear to work on an existing scheduled event. So what I've had to do is just create a new one instead, and it seems to be working fine. Fingers crossed. So hopefully, if you're on the other link, you might be able to make your way across to this link. Obviously, if you're on the other link, then you won't be hearing me on this link. So I have posted on the other one, so hopefully people can filter their way across. So there's 17 people still waiting on the other one. But I will make a start shortly. I'll just give another minute or two just for people to hopefully migrate across if they've seen the link on Twitter. So if you're here, let me know you're here. In the comments, top right of the screen, I think there should be a box to chat. I think you need to be logged into YouTube to do it. Let me know you're here. So hello Simon in Devon. I hope the weather's better down there than it is up here. It's pretty miserable up in Lancashire. But maybe not. It's pretty bad everywhere at the moment. In the UK. So yeah, let us know here if you join us, and we can see who's about. So as you can probably tell, this is not my first live stream. I think this is the second. We did one a few years ago about Gutenberg. Kind of ironic, since this is about Gutenberg. And when I logged in last week to sort of test all this, YouTube appears to have changed everything. Hence the reason why I'm having to use this new software. So please bear with me. I'm probably going to get a lot wrong and break things. And so just let me know if you can't see stuff or whatever. And I'll try my best to get it to work. But yeah, so this is my first attempt at using this software. So if I am look like I'm a bit lost, it's probably because I am. And I can't find things from where things are. So hello to Belinda and Panos and Maori, is it, I think? Welcome, and hopefully you'll get something out of this. If not, then I'm sorry. So I'm going to make a start. I'm going to... First of all, I'm going to show you or touch about what this plugin actually is. We're going to do a little bit of a demo of it so you can see it in action. It's probably still very beta at the moment. It's more of well, it's a bit more than a concept. It's not quite a concept. We are using it on a project at the moment, so it's kind of in development still, but it's proving to be successful, which is good. And it is an iteration of a previous plugin that we developed where we used the flexible content module of advanced custom fields because obviously we wanted to try and integrate the new block editor in WordPress. If you want to know more about the history of that plugin, there's a talk online on WordPress .tv. I don't know if it's on there actually. It's certainly on our YouTube channel that I gave at WordCamp Manchester about how we used advanced custom fields, flexible content to build our blocks plugin and how we actually integrate that. This is an iteration of that. It's using a lot of the same concepts and of the same ideas, but obviously using the Gutenberg block editor. Well, I don't think it's called Gutenberg anymore, is it? It's just the block editor in WordPress to be able to edit pages and posts and things. So that's how it works. So the reason why we wanted to build this, we found lots of people were or lots of designs were coming to us that were obviously built in a way that needed a block editor. The pages were clearly built up of different blocks of content that were used or reused across multiple pages on those designs. And WordPress didn't really provide a brilliant way of doing that. So the way we came up with was to use the excellent Advanced Custom Fields plugin. I'm sure you all use it. And the flexible content module. But what we did find is we were actually rewriting the same code lots of times on the different projects. So what we wanted to do was to somehow standardize the system that we were building. We found that we created a lot of the blocks that were the same on every site. So for example, and I'll show you in a second, one of the common blocks was what we've called a feature row. So it's basically some content beside a piece of media, whether that's an image, whether that's a gallery, like a little slider, or whether that's a video. And we kept rewriting the same stuff, and then you've got to rewrite all the front-end markup. So what we've tried to do with this plugin is to standardize all that, make it so that we don't have to rewrite the code every time, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we can obviously reuse the code. But what was important to us is that we needed to be able to make changes to the plugin. Not all projects are the same, not all clients are the same, not all, in this example, feature rows are going to be the same. So we needed it to be extensible so that we could add in things, take things away, modify things, but without breaking that underlying code that builds up the whole site. So that was sort of the background of why we've sort of gone ahead building this. Now, the older version of the plugin, the one that doesn't use the new block editor in WordPress, we've now got actively running on probably 5 or 6 live projects, and it works really well. So hopefully this concept, again, will be similar and we prove to be successful. So the purpose of today's live session is to sort of, hi Keith, the purpose of today's session is to sort of go through what the plugin is, how it works in terms of in WordPress, in the back end, and obviously I'm trying to show you a little bit about how it's built and the sort of features of it that you can use as presumably a developer or an agency that wants to sort of roll this out with clients' projects. So hopefully you get something out of it. So let me try and share my screen so that you can see. Is that working? I think that's working. So you should be able to see my screen now. Please tell me if you can't in the comments, and I will continue. So this is a local install of WordPress that I've got running with this plugin. I think if I press that button, yay, you can see me again. Maybe that's not good. I'll see. Can I move that over there? No. Anyway, I'll turn me off for a minute, and then you can you get a full screen. So this is a WordPress install I've just got running on my laptop. As you can see, ACF Gutenberg.test, and I've installed the plugin. So I just wanted to show you how it works, which is pretty straightforward. So if I click on, first of all, I'll just show you the plugin. So if we go into plugins section, I have got just 1 or 2 plugins running on this site at the moment. I've got Advanced Custom Fields Pro. That is a requirement, and at the moment, because this plugin uses the new ACF blocks support, that is only available at the moment in the beta version of ACF. Hopefully, Elliot and his team will be launching that soon. Done some super work on that, and that will be obviously in the normal Pro version, whatever the next release is, presumably 5.8. But for now, you need the Beta 4 version to be able to make this work. If you've got an ACF Pro license, you can get that off the Advanced Custom Fields site, and there's some information about how to get that working. This is irrelevant. I've got this just to create a child theme. I've got the Gutenberg blocks plugin active, which probably won't be the end name of the product, but that's what it is now, because obviously WordPress has gone and dropped the term Gutenberg, which means that it's probably got the wrong name, but there you go. So we'll come up with something there, but this is the plugin essentially that we're going to be looking at today. I've also got Query Monitor ticked on, which if you don't use Query Monitor, I highly recommend it. It's a great plugin. Allows you to see what errors and things are going on in your site. So let's have a look at that. It's active already. If I click on Pages, and then we're going to have a look at creating a page. So I've got a block test page here, so I'm just going to edit that. Now, what I didn't mention at the start is that if we've got any questions, then we'll try and answer them at the end. So please feel free to pop them in the channel, and we'll try and answer them. So this is an editing page in Gutenberg. If you're not, I shouldn't call it Gutenberg, the block editor of WordPress. If you're not familiar with this, then you probably should start getting familiar with it, because it's going to be around more and more in the coming weeks, months and years. So you essentially get your title here, you can then edit the link, etc. So what the important bit here is, this is the add blocks button. So I'm going to click the plus button here. Now what our plugin actually does is it disables a lot of the core blocks in Gutenberg. Now you might be shouting at me and saying, Mark, why on earth are you disabling stuff when we can all use it? Well, the reason for that is that if you, or any block that you provide in this list, you have then got to style. You've got to make it work on the front end, and you've got to allow the client to use that block and make it work. So we wanted to reduce the number that were available so that we can obviously control what the client can do on the front end and at the back end, because we're big believers of making things as simple as possible for clients in the WordPress admin when they're writing content, managing that content. And obviously, if we put something on here that allows them to use that particular block, we need to make sure that if they do, it works on the front end and it outputs properly. So this is the block selection panel. These are all the different sections, and you'll see that we've added our own category of block at the bottom called HD blocks. If we expand that, these are all of the blocks that we currently have support for. So we came up with this list essentially looking at lots of websites that we built, lots of designs that we received, and splitting all those up into the different components and the different types of content that we see on those designs, and tried to come up with a definitive list. And this is by no means exhaustive. We do have to add other blocks in sometimes for clients, obviously take blocks away that they don't need. But it was a good starting point of the sorts of blocks that tend to be needed on lots of projects. So here's the blocks we've got. So content listing, basically that allows you to list posts. So think of it a bit like a recent posts block. And it's got lots of options for, you can choose posts to display. It's probably better if I just click it and show you. Oops. So there we go. So we've got every block has a block title option, which outputs on the front end as a title for that block. And obviously all of those blocks have a class that you can then uniformly style all block titles. Some of the blocks, not all of the blocks because it's not appropriate, have a block introduction. So a little paragraph of text that you can put before a block is output. And that's a little WYSIWYG in ACF. And then this particular block has several options. So what type of content listing do you want? Do you want to show the latest posts, or do you want to show selected posts? So if we leave it on latest posts, we then get to choose which post type we've got. So I've got 3 post types on this site. And then if I click testimonials, I have a custom taxonomy. I think if I hover over there, you can see I've got a custom taxonomy of topics. So at the moment, this will show the latest testimonials, and I can put a number of posts that I want to show. If I tick one of these, then it'll show the latest testimonials in that particular term, in this instance, topic 2, and it'll show the number that I've selected here. If I click selected posts, I can actually just choose which posts I want to display, and this is a relationship field in ACF, which works really well. So as I said, every block has a content tab and an options tab. So in the options tab, we get the chance to set a background color for the block. So that's like usually a full width color. We get the option to choose a background image, which obviously overrides the color. We get the option to set the title heading level. So that's the title, the block title here. What heading level do you want that to be? And again, you don't have to set this. It defaults to heading level 2. Which works, and then every block has the option to set a block template. So basically that's the file that gets used to render the output of this. Now, by the plugin out the box doesn't come with, well, it only comes with one template for each particular block, but we've recently been working on a few client sites where they have sort of like 2 different types of feature row or 2 different types of gallery. and it would be nice to enable them to let them output those in a different way by adding a block template. And the plugin fully supports a block template. Obviously, we just don't use them in the core plugin. I'll hopefully get onto that later for you. So that's how that works. I'll just have a quick look at the other blocks for you as well. So content listing, an embed block. I think that's the core block actually. Oh no, we're in the wrong box. That's right. We've got an accordion, pretty much as it says on the tin. I've built that using the accessible accordion repo on GitHub. So it's keyboard navigatable. Is that a word? Navigation, can't remember, but you get the idea. A rich text block is that's an interesting one actually. I'm going to select that. I'm going to show you. So essentially, that's a content block. So you get a block title. Now, as it's a content block and we're putting content in, there's no introductory paragraph because kind of the content's going to be in the actual content itself. But what we've done is enabled columns option. So you essentially add a column, and then you can add this column here, and then it gives you options for the actual content, and each column can have a custom class which gets out on that columns wrapper, so that you can then do something different with it if you want, which is nice. And then again, it has the block options and so on. Don't forget as well that native Gutenberg supports a custom class on any block on the right hand side, which we've outputted with the plugin. So if you want to do something differently with a particular block, you can do, and you can put a custom class on it and then style it in a different way. So this is the rich text block, as I said, and then you can have multiple rows in this particular repeater, and they get output as different divs on the front end, so you can then turn those into columns, which works quite well when clients want to do things with columns. So you might often get, for example, a design that has a form on like the right and then some text on the left. So what you could do, we use Gravity Forms, you could let the client put the two columns in, text on the left-hand column, and then add the Gravity Form into the editor here, and that would render that on the right-hand column. Excuse me, if I keep pausing, it's because I'm having a little drink, so bear with me. So that's that block. Let's have a look at the other blocks. Whoops. Back to the HT block section. Oops. So that's rich text block. Gallery, fairly straightforward. It's a gallery. We want to add an option for maybe the number of columns that you want for the gallery yet, things like that. There's some other options as well, and that's such as like turn it into a slider. Maybe you could do that. I'm not so sure yet. We haven't fully fleshed that out, if you like. Here's the feature row that I mentioned before. So again, content and options, again, they all have the same options you can see here. This one doesn't have a background image on the feature row, purely because there's probably going to be an image or a video on top of it, in which case it's probably not appropriate to put an image behind it. That gets a bit confusing. They all have a light text option, because if you set a dark background color, you want to be able to show the light text. And all this does is output a class on the block itself that says uses light text, and then the front-end developers can use that class to be able to turn the font or the color into a sort of white color or whatever. So I get a block title. I can choose whether my media is images or video. I can choose whether the text location is to the right or to the left of the block. And then because I've got selected images, I can add a gallery, basically. Excuse me. And then on the front end, if you're wanting to style that gallery, you can use whatever you want to style the gallery, turn it into a slider or whatever. If I select a video, you get a video embed URL, and you can give that a description, etc., and that gets output. And then this is the text that would appear on the right left. You get a title, a description, and there's a button as well. You can add, sort of give like a call to action link that takes you to wherever you want to go. So that's the feature row block. I never get the plus button to appear. There we go. Back to blocks. So we've got these keep moving around, don't they? Because I keep clicking on. Videos block does what it says on the tin. What we've done is introduce for Vimeo and YouTube. The plugin also has support for lazy loading the videos. So what happens is when the page loads, you get the poster image from YouTube or Vimeo, and then it requires a click to actually turn that into an iframe, and then it goes and gets all the JavaScript stuff. So it basically tries to keep the page load a bit down, which is quite nice. Documents, that's to add links to documents, quite straightforward. Quotes, pretty straightforward. Action grid is basically like a grid of actions, so each one has like an image, a title, a description, and a button. If you wanted to do that, or you can use posts in that, I think, as well. Call to actions, fairly straightforward. Hero gives you a chance to add a hero slider. and so on. An image is just an image. Statistics is allows you to add stats. Each one can have like a prefix, so it could have like, you know, a pound sign, then the statistic value, and then a suffix at the end, like per year or whatever, and a label as well. People is quite a good one. It allows you to sort of have a little person's profile, and they can have like their LinkedIn, Twitter, and such profiles, or email address, a telephone number, a little picture of themselves. And then locations allows you to do the maps and put a map on with the addresses and things like that. So it's good for like contact pages and etc. So that's the sort of the native block support that we've got. So a quick question from, I think it's Belinda. It says, do you use the ACF preview functionality? The answer is no. I've turned it off in this plugin because what happens, I don't know if you've used it, is all this in this here gets spit over to the right hand side in this tiny column, which becomes a bit difficult to edit. And it also means that you've got to render the front end in the back end here as well, how it's going to look. It might be something that we use again in the future and we turn it back on, but for now I've just switched it off. And the way that the Advanced Custom Fields team have made the blocks, registering blocks, you've got control over lots of things like that, whether that's on or off or such like. So that's how the blocks work anyway. So I can show you obviously the front end of the blocks. So let me just add some content in here. So this is the block title. Let's do an image. Let's do text on the right. Let's add an image. Have I got an image? Or have I not? Yes, I have got an image. So we'll not have an image of me. We'll have an image of some berries. Oh, I've added them all now, haven't I? Let's turn it into a gallery. Let's just have one image. And then obviously this is just the gallery field in ACF, so you can click on that and then make your edits to the caption and alt tag, etc. here. Oh, it's already got some, that's good. Close that. Then we can add some content. And then we can add some content here. We can add a label and we can add a link. I'll just put hash for link. And then I'm just going to remove these other blocks so that it doesn't get in the way. That's it. And then we can update the page. Eventually. There we go. And then we can view. So this is just running, I believe, the 2019 theme, nothing special. Although the 2019 theme, oh no, it's not, it's running the 2016 theme. Although the 2019 theme is beautiful, but this is running the 2016 theme. I think it is anyway. So that's the block output. It doesn't look like it's all output actually, which is probably because I haven't finished that block. But you get the idea. Where's it gone? Everything's very small. So I just wanted to show you how it outputs. So there's the block wrapper. So everything has a class of HD block. I don't know if you can see that very well. Can I zoom in a little bit? There we go. Let me just make that wider so you can see it. There's the block wrapper. You can see that it's got a class of feature row because that's what it is. It's using the default template. It spits it out. Every block has a unique ID. That is something that's generated by ACF itself. So I've just grabbed that and put it on there. And then this has got a block inner. Again, this is, I'll show you this in a second when I show you the bit of the code. Blocks can have support for or not support for an inner div. I'm not a front-end developer, but I'm told that's important for like laying it out. There's the header with the block title, and then there's a media wrapper for the media, and then there's a gallery and so on. So you get the idea of how it's been built up. Yeah, it's not outputting the text, is it, on the right-hand side? So I need to sort that out, obviously. It might be because I've been testing this with a custom template and I've not done it. But you get the idea. So the front end, the idea is the front end markup is done, and you don't need to worry about that on every project that you're working on, which is quite nice. So, as I said, if you have any questions, just fire them into the channel and I'll do my best to answer them. So let's have a look at the sort of benefits of using this plugin. So you might be saying, well, why have you got an image block in here when you've already got one in WordPress? Gutenberg provides you with one. Well, the reason for that is because we want to control sort of the wrapper on that. So we want to be able to say that as the class of HD block, we want to be able to say it as an inner div and etc. So we can standardize the markup for all of the blocks, and that's going to make it much easier to work with, hopefully, on the front end. So the other key important thing that I mentioned was to us about this was that we wanted to make it extensible. So if I just flip across to my code editor here, what you can see, I'm just in Sublime Text, so here's the plugin. Excuse me. So what the way that this works is that each block has a template that outputs the front end, and that's in the templates folder. So if I can open this up, the title is a template, the intro is a template, the blocks themselves have a folder, and then all the blocks are listed in here, and you can see that these are all the way that they get output. So if we pick a nice simple one, this is the image block. So you can see that there's got actions before the block gets output, and if we go to the bottom, there's an action after the block gets output, so we can control as a developer some stuff like that. This is an image block, so we've got image classes. You can see that these are all filterable, so we can filter the classes if we want to add an extra class or take one away. The same with the attributes on the block. We can filter those as well that get applied to, in this case, the figure elements. So lots of extensibility to be able to change and tweak things. All of the image output is hooked, which means that if you need to do something different with images, you can unhook the default image function and output your own. Maybe you wanted to do something like lazy loading with images, and you need to change that or something like that. Then that is quite nice. So that's that block. So those are all the templates. But the great thing about the templates is if I want to modify this template, this image template, it's not suitable for me. It's going to be different. All I need to do is to save a copy of that into my active theme. So if I go into themes, I don't know if I'm in the child theme or not. Yeah, into my active theme. I don't know why these are all grey and these are all black. Must have something to do with Git, I think. And I've got a HDGB blocks folder, and then I've got a blocks folder. So basically this folder mirrors the templates folder, as you can see. So I've gone into blocks. All I have to do is save it in there, and it will then use that one rather than the one I have got here. So therefore, it means you can fully customize it without breaking it, basically. So when we do an update to the plugin, it means you won't lose those customizations. So that's one way of making those changes. Obviously, if you can do it with the hooks and filters that are in here, then great. But sometimes you might need to use your own. So that's the template output that comes in here. All the blocks are registered over here. So each block is, I'll just show you the accordion box, okay. So basically the blocks is just one huge array of fields. Because that's filtered, so this is the accordion block where we're registering it. And you can see at the bottom here, we're just adding it to the HDGB blocks filter, which basically adds this array to that massive array of blocks that's already been registered. So it means that you can add your own blocks quite straightforward. So you can just do something like I've done in here for the accordion block. So the block array itself is split into a couple of sections. So the first one is about the block, and that's registering it within ACF. Then we've got the actual field groups that take place. So what the fields in the block, so accordion elements with a heading and content, etc. That's quite straightforward. And then in the block section, we've got things like what the title is in the admin, we've got what the icon is. This is all stuff that you do with registering like Gutenberg blocks. But then we've got a couple of things here. So we've got the options. So does it support an inner div? So if that's set to false, it won't output the inner div that's inside the block. Does it support a background color in the options panel? Does it support a background image? Does it have light text, etc.? And then the content is like the content tab, if you like, in the back end. So does it have a block title? Is set to true. Block intro is set to true. So you set those two to false, it wouldn't have a block title or a block intro either. So that's quite nice. So again, you can register your own blocks in a very similar way. You can basically take one of these folders as a starting point, and then copy it into a plugin or into your active theme, and then hook it into WordPress with the filter, and you'll have your own block. Obviously, when you do that, the plugin will look for that template to output your block in the plugin. It won't be there, but then it'll look in your theme. So all you need to do then is put the block template name, so in this case it'd be accordion.php, into that blocks folder in your theme, and then it'll render that as well, which is quite nice. A couple of questions. How are you tackling theme/block CSS? From Belinda, do you add some CSS for the block in the plugin and then add the color font CSS from the theme? This is probably not the question for me because I'm not the front end person, but we are going to have, what we're thinking of having is like a layout CSS file in the plugin. So essentially, the layout CSS file will kind of like do a wireframe approach. It will basically, like for example, if you've chosen to put the text for the feature on the right hand side, it'll do that for you. But then all the color customizations and things would come in the theme, because they're different for every client. That's, I think, the approach we're going to take. I hope that is what you meant, and if not, I apologise. But that's more the other guys who are going to handle that front end. But both Keith and Jonathan, who've been working with it, have been saying how flexible it is, because all these different classes that get applied to the block, whether it's got an image, whether it's got a background image, all that sort of stuff, and the fact that everything's uniform, they've got the same classes for block titles, inners, block levels, is really quite good to work with in terms of the front end of the site. So hopefully, you might find the same. So then, question from Andrew is: what do you think are the benefits of using WordPress blocks over flexible content in ACF? So, good question. One of the biggest benefits is that you don't have to do anything strange in terms of your output in your theme. So if we look at the... can you still see my screen? Yes, you can. If we look at 2016 theme, we're just outputting the content. Oh, in fact, it's not in there. So we don't need to do any sort of looping through the files, if you like, in terms of getting the flexible contents, if have rows, all that sort of stuff. Because our plugin does that for you already. All you need to do in your theme to output the blocks is simply call the content, and then it works. Because all of the data for the blocks, rightly so, and there's arguments about how it's stored in the content, that's fine, but rightly so, the content of your site is in the content in the database, which makes sense to me. So from that point of view, it's really straightforward. But it is very similar to flexible content. I'm not arguing about that, but this allows you to take advantage. Oops, where's my window? There it is. It allows you to take advantage of the new editor in WordPress, but still using the stuff we're familiar with advanced custom fields, which I think is really good. And obviously, this new editor is not going to go away. It's going to develop. It's going to get better. So we probably need to be moving towards using it. Whether it's not now, whether it's not in 2 or 3 months, but certainly in the future, we need to be moving towards using that new editor, and this enables you to do that. Do I like the new editor? I think I'm getting used to it in terms of having to edit content in this way, and the latest release of Advanced Custom Fields Beta 4 had lots of improvements in terms of speed and stability in terms of rendering the blocks in here. The first version, things were a little bit slow to render. I think that's a block editor problem in general as well, not just an ACF problem. But there's lots of enhancements. I know in the latest version of WordPress, I think it's 5.1 from memory, there's lots of enhancements in there to make it faster. And then also in Beta 4 from ACF, there's lots of stuff to make it faster in there. I also think this interface in terms of ACF could get better as well. It could develop in the future, and I know, having spoken to Elliot, that's something they're looking at doing, so we could probably all contribute to that a little bit. I'm not saying it's bad at all, it's a really nice, but it could perhaps be a bit more native block editor than perhaps the old flexible content that we were used to with the normal sort of ACF and so on. So that's something that could be made better and improved. Morning, Craig. So that's kind of the demo of it. I've probably missed loads of things out, so if Keith and Jonathan are watching, please tell me what I've missed and that's awesome about it that we've forgotten to tell you. But that's kind of the approach that we've been taking with the plugin, with the editor. Can I put myself back on there? Yes, I can. And that's how it works. So if you've got any questions, then please fire away and I'll try and answer as many as I can. I'm not sure if you've got any or not, but it would be nice to be able to get something. If you've any questions in terms of like, does it do this or could it do this, you might give us some really good ideas that we could put forward and perhaps introduce to it. But it would be good to get your feedback. It'd be good to get your questions so we could understand maybe how you're thinking of using it and stuff. Do you build sites in the similar sort of way, building up of building blocks, or do you not? Do you presumably you're using them with advanced custom fields at the moment. I'm not so sure, or the flexible content. So it'd be good to get your thoughts on that. I'll just have a little drink. So, if you've not got any questions, I think we'll wrap up there and we'll call it a day. In terms of getting your hands on this, then we're not quite ready for a beta release at the moment, as you can see from my demonstration. Things are, well, I wouldn't say rusty, but they're just not quite finished yet, so we need to make sure that that's the case. Actually, I could show you that other plugin. Let me do that, actually, that might be handy. Let's have a look. Work with, can I go? So, one of the things we've been doing for a client recently is we've been using this plugin to build a block system for them. Oh, thanks for the question, Simon. I'll come to that in a second. We've got a big system that we're building for them. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to modify some of the blocks. So I just wanted to show you how you can sort of extend the functionality here. So what I've created is a rich text block plugin here with sidebar. So one of the things they wanted is they wanted to be able to have a content block or a rich text block, and they want to be able to set a sidebar to appear on the side of that, a bit like the columns, if you like. And they want to be able to choose a WordPress menu or output some links and stuff in there. So what we did is we created this plugin. I'm just going to share my screen again so that you can see that. There we go. We created this plugin called the Rich Text Sidebar, and essentially what you can do is you can register or you can modify the fields within the rich text block, which is what I'm doing here, to add things like a sidebar and choose a different menu, etc. So again, this is just adding them into the blocks filter, modifying the fields that are already there, and then this function at the bottom here, nice and simple, basically adds another template location to where the plugin will look to actually get to render the template on the front end. So basically I'm just saying here, pass in the templates location in this plugin, which is in this in here, as a location to find the template for this block, for this new block, because I need to be able to change the output of that block because I've added some more fields that need to get output on the bit that the core plugin won't do that, obviously. So instead of having to do that in a theme, you can obviously pass that in a plugin as well, and it'll output those in a plugin. So that's what this one does, and you can see the template for the new rich text is in here, and it obviously includes the different fields that we've got, like use sidebar here. So that's just a way that just to show you can extend it with other plugins and things, which is quite handy. So let's get back to the questions. Put me back on the screen. So Simon says, what are your plans for releasing this? Will it be free or will it be premium? The honest answer to that, Simon, is I don't know yet. It might be free, it might be paid. I'm not so sure. We'll need to see and have a discussion about that. Obviously, free makes it a bit less of a support onus on us, and premium or paid for does that. I have not concerns, but I have. I think the plugin will get better if there's lots of people using it, and that's probably a good thing. So watch this space. I don't know is the answer at the moment. We need to have a chat internally with our team and decide what we're going to do with it in terms of release. But the idea is that we all want a selection of beta users to start using it for free, basically, to get involved and to try and make sure it works, fix the problems with it, etc. So we'll be talking about that shortly. Belinda says, are you looking into GitHub? Are you taking contributions from others? That kind of depends on the last answer. So we'll see. I think we're probably... well, certainly for the beta, we'll be taking obviously contributions and fixing bugs. So hopefully that will answer that question. I'm sorry I can't give more information on that. I really wish I could, but I can't at the moment. We've been massively busy at Horizon just all over the last few months, so this whole sort of thing has taken a bit of a back burner in terms of getting this ready and so on for release to others. But yeah, we do want to do a beta and let people use it and let people work on it and hopefully improve it. So that's the plan for that. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry it's not a definitive answer. Any other questions before we finish up? I hope it's worked all right, this, by the way. I apologise, it looks a bit rough and ready. As I said, it's my first one for a while on new software and so forth, but fingers crossed you got something out of it. We'll hopefully improve it next time. I've got to work out how to end this now. 1 second. Where are we on now? Okay, I'm going to sign off. you can keep the questions coming. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Highrise Digital. Give us any questions, any comments, any feedback. I'd love to hear them, and we'll try and do our best to answer them. But other than that, I'll sign off, and we'll catch you soon.